design at the Kenya National Highways Authority, better known as KENHA. Engineer, many thanks for your time. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jesse, and good morning, viewers. I'm glad to share one or two points in regards to what we're doing in development of infrastructure. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Exactly, and thank you for also sparing time. Let's start at that particular note. You brought up the road infrastructure aspect, and we want to evaluate how this particular investment is contributing to the economic development of the country. Paint us a picture on why road infrastructure is important, not just to the country, but in terms of regional integration and economic growth of the country and the region as well.
Thank you, Jesse. I just want to recap on some of the national and international development aspect that we have, particularly in regards to highways and with reference to what you just mentioned in terms of regional integration. As you are aware, the UN Economic Commission of Africa, that is ECA, supported two issues: regional integrations of countries and economic groupings, so that they can develop and take advantage and leverage on their synergies. And the ECA has supported viable regional grouping of countries in West Africa and in East Africa and in Southern Africa. So we have three of these groupings are the Economic Community of West African States, what we call ECOWAS, and the Southern African Development Community, that is SADC. And then, if you cannot recall, we used to have the Preferential Trade Area, which was succeeded by COMESA in 1994. PTA having been there since 1981. Kenya is a member of the East African Community and also a strong member of COMESA. And the issue that we deal with here is to look at how we can properly link our country, Kenya, and the regional economic blocks that I've mentioned. This is the same issue is happening in other countries, like the US have their own trade blocks, the Europe similarly has, and the Asian countries also have their trading blocks. So ours is the COMESA region that we are playing a key part. As you know, Kenya is a maritime country. We have a port in Mombasa that supports all the countries, the landlocked countries in the region, and supports trade between Kenya and countries in Eastern and Central Africa, and further beyond through highways to be developed to connect some of those regional economic corridors and the regional economic communities. There are three transnational highways that traverse Kenya's territory. One of them we call the A8 highway, which is the northern corridor. It starts in Mombasa through Nairobi to Malaba border with Uganda and connects countries in Central Africa. Then the second one is the Tanzania-Kenya-Sudan Link Road. Starts from Mwanza, Musoma in Tanzania, through Sirari border on the side of Tanzania. We call it Isebania in Kenya, through to Kisii, Ahero, Kisumu, Kakamega, to Webuye, onwards to Kitale and Lodwar and Nakodok, which is the border of Kenya and South Sudan. Then we have the Great North Road that starts from South Africa through Namanga to Nairobi, to Thika, Kenol. These are small towns that we are all familiar with, Sagana, Marwa, Nanyuki, Isiolo, Marsabit, Turbi, Moyale, and then onwards to Addis Ababa and further on to Egypt. So you can see the picture of how we are connected with our neighbors in the regional economic corridors that I just mentioned, and also regionally with our neighbors. We are also developing a third economic fourth economic corridor, which we call LAPSET. This is a transnational corridor that will connect Kenya to Ethiopia and South Sudan, with the possible extension to Central Africa and Western African countries, to a port in Central African Republic and to Douala in Cameroon. And it will form a land bridge across Africa, enabling trade to happen between the Indian Ocean, the Pacific, and the Atlantic, with Lamu playing a part as an anchor port and enabling possible land transport between Lamu and Central and Western Africa. So we think that road infrastructure is very important in terms of realizing some of those goals. We all know that we have a very strong service industry in Kenya and very strong financial services in Kenya, being a hub that has been established over time because of the policies of our country. And highways then are enablers for transport and trade and logistics with our neighbors. As we speak now, we have a high-level delegation of Kenya speaking to authorities in Ethiopia to market the LAPSET corridor. This is because our unique, as I said, position in Africa as a maritime country, and we're able to leverage on some of these resources. Without highways, it's not possible to be able to achieve this, and this is the reason that we think that Kenya and the ministry responsible for infrastructure, transport and infrastructure, is very key in playing that role in realizing some of those regional and international objectives. Locally, roads are an enabler in the achievement of the Big Four agenda. We've seen the effects of upgrading highways as a stimulus to industry. If I can just look outside the window here, you see the industrial growth happening in south of Nairobi, in parts of Kajiado County, in parts of Machakos County. If you can recall, it's only a few years that some years ago that we upgraded Nairobi Namanga Road. And we've seen this has stimulated industrial development a lot in that region, and you can see the movement of even commercial and residential area in that direction. So highways alone are very important, key enabler for achieving our growth objectives. And then recently also the ministry has undertaken upgrading of rural roads, some of these roads which were earth roads or gravel roads, which sometimes are impassable during rains. And then the government has taken initiative to develop them through construction of low-volume roads, which has been done by our sister agency called KERA, and some of them by KENHA. And we've seen a great transformation of the country, the landscape, the agricultural landscape, the opportunities that are out there are now being realized because of improved accessibility. And we see, therefore, that local resources can then now reach markets, agricultural produce can reach market, enabling, therefore, the realization of food security and even development of cottage industries in those areas which were hitherto underserved by good roads. And further on, in terms of accessibility, we are able then to go through the national trunk roads for those produce that have value addition, and then they can then be transported to international markets, as I've said, in the region and in other parts of the world. So we think that highway infrastructure, road infrastructure, is a very important enabler in our development aspirations. Well, further on, I think we see also transfer of skills through new ideas coming into the communities that are served by those roads. So I thank you very much for that question.
Well noted, Engineer. You've definitely belabored the point on how roads are an enabling factor in terms of growth of the economy, not just in the country, but in the region as well. Now, in line with the mandate of the Kenya National Highways Authority, which is obviously maintaining the national trunk roads, let's talk about the key projects being undertaken by KENHA right now. Many Kenyans might see so many road projects ongoing, so they'd like to know which ones are complete, which ones are ongoing. So a complete breakdown of some of the key projects that are still yet to be complete by KENHA and those that are set to be completed in the near future. Engineer, your take.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I think for now, we have many projects that we have completed, but I just want to mention a few of importance. We've recently, or nearly completing the Lamu Witu Garsen Road, which is the main link to the anchor port of Lamu, the new port, and a future industrial city of Lamu. So that has been completed. I think we should be well done with it by the end of July. Then we've completed Nuno Modogashe, which connects Garissa in the Horn of Africa to eventually through to Lamu, through the Lapsset corridor that I mentioned. We've completed also the Kitui Mutomo Kibwezi Road, which connects the northern corridor A8 to upper eastern part of Embu and Meru and beyond. We plan also to extend this highway to Meru and then onwards to Isiolo. As you know, Isiolo is an important hub and a Lapsset, and then it will connect us then to Ethiopia. So those are some of the roads. We have also completed a number of them in other parts of the country. We've completed Kitale, Kakamega, Kisumu Highway. We are now undertaking Isibania, Kisii to Ahero. It's at advanced stages towards completion. And we have the Kenol Sagana Marwa Road, which we've since commenced in terms of those ones which are ongoing. This is a very important road that has experienced a lot of congestion. And we see we need to upgrade that to higher capacity so that we can then improve transportation between Nairobi and that busy part of Kenya. The Western Bypass, which is a missing link for highways around the city, is also nearing completion. And the Nairobi Expressway, which is meant to decongest the city of Nairobi, is also at advanced stage towards completion. Many of you are probably seeing, those of you who are in Nairobi, you can see the progress we've made in terms of completion of that road, which will be a toll road. Thank you.
Okay, Engineer, perhaps let's belabor that point on the Nairobi Expressway, because due to the traffic congestion right now, I'm pretty sure those who ply the Westlands Mlolongo Highway will definitely want to know how far is the project so far. Is it set for completion still by the end of this year, even as we push on the point of why it was critical in terms of reducing road traffic, especially on this busy superhighway? Talk to us about this.
Yes, Jesse, and also to our viewers, we think that this is a project that has gone well. And if you cannot recall, when we completed the Southern Bypass, there was quite a bit of relief of traffic that used to go through the CBD. You recall trucks used to go through highway, causing extensive delays for rush hour, during rush hour period, and causing a lot of pollution and accidents. And so when we opened the Southern Bypass, you saw the relief of the CBD traffic. And now we are, I can say we are through the new expressway, we are constructing what I can call a vertical bypass because of the way it's constructed, in an elevated format. And that will be a vertical bypass around the city or away from the current Uhuru Highway and Mombasa Road and Chiromo Road going westwards, providing therefore additional capacity for traffic that doesn't need to come into the city, then they can actually fly over and be able to traverse the city in a quick and efficient way. As you said, Jesse, we project that this will be completed by the end of the year, and then it will be open for tolling. So we are well within schedule. In many sections, we are ahead of schedule, apart from some of the challenges we have in terms of land acquisition and the rest of utility retrofitting of some of the public utilities. So we think it will add value to this city and therefore be another enabler for growth of the Nairobi city and its environs, and be able then to strengthen the position of Nairobi as an international hub for aviation, for financial services, as I said, and even for logistics. Also combining with other modes of transport that we have, like railways, to even strengthen that position even further. Thank you.
Engineer Omer, let's talk about the Nairobi Expressway, specifically the tolling system, the tolling concept and how it will work. Because once you interact with individuals, they're not too adversant with this. So as a taxpayer, I'll be paying for that particular road as my mandate as a taxpayer, and later on, I'll still be paying for the maintenance through the toll. How exactly does this work? Help us understand.
Thank you, Jesse. Recently, what has been in the media, if you can recall, during the Safari rally, a lot of congestion, a lot of challenges, and suffering of the people who perhaps just wanted to cross the highway from Nairobi westwards, and they couldn't do it because of a small, I can say, impact of people going to look, to view the Safari rally. If you can recall, sometimes you drive on a busy highway and you wonder where there's congestion. And when you reach where a car is stalled, you find someone is changing a tire, and it's causing all this backflow of traffic, and you wonder why. So when highways reach such a capacity, critical capacity, even small things like a stalled car or one lane that is blocked, it causes a lot of delays and suffering, as we've seen in some cases. And so what we do is, if you look at that case, the time you spend in traffic because of small impacts like those, or even because of congestion, really is money, because time is money. You burn fuel also in traffic as you stall, you spend a lot of time. And there's also issues of pollution that is caused because of stalled vehicles. So what happens? Who pays for this? The motorist pays, and the country also pays for those costs. So you pay for the cost of a good road, whether you have the good road or not. So therefore, what can we do? And in the environment where we now encourage private investment in public infrastructure, we have decided to give this under the law to a private developer to be able to enhance capacity and then charge what we call user charges, so that people pay a small amount, but they're able then to save time and save fuel, and then minimize some of those costs, and like environmental, as I've said. And so this will be tolled, and once it's completed, and we think that the surveys that we've put, we think that users will be happy to pay for this new facility that will save them time and add economic surplus to the users. We want to say also that road maintenance levy, Jesse, as you said, is also a user charge, just like you will be able to pay when you enter the gates into the expressway for the distance that you use. Road maintenance levy is a user charge. You pay for that at the pump when you fuel your car. And as we speak now, once this highway is completed, you will still be paying for that use, but we will not be putting any road maintenance levy on that expressway, because it will be maintained and managed by the private concessionaire. And therefore, the questions, I think we've heard of, questions of double taxations, as you probably inferred. It's going to be a user charge for the convenience, the extra convenience that is in place because of this new facility. Road maintenance levy will still be there, but only chargeable on other roads that are not tolled. Once a highway or a road is tolled, we will not budget for road maintenance levy for maintenance of the privately concessioned road. Thank you.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. Road maintenance levy on one side and the toll on the other side. It's a little bit clearer for me and the audience as well, I hope. Let's talk about just briefly, the completion of the ring roads around Nairobi. And when I speak of this, of course, the Western Bypass will come into sharp focus, perhaps the timelines of when this is expected to be completed. even as we look for ways of diverting traffic away from the central business district and providing other viable routes? Talk to us, Engineer.
Thank you, Jesse. The Nairobi Western Bypass, as you've correctly pointed out, is what we call the missing link of highways around Nairobi. After completing the Eastern Bypass, Southern Bypass several years ago, and the Northern Bypass, we now have one missing link, the Western Bypass, which runs from Gitaru on the junction with Southern Bypass and Nakuru Road. It will then connect to Ruaka near Two Rivers Mall, and it will link to Limuru Road at a place called Ndenderu. And we think that once this is completed, we'll have better circulation of traffic around Nairobi. For those who don't need to go through the CBD, if you come from the southern part of Nairobi, the airport, you can go to the Southern Bypass, link the Western Bypass at Gitaru, and you can go onwards to any part of the suburbs or north of Nairobi, like Kiambu, and the rest without necessarily traversing the city. And I think with this, we'll distribute traffic effectively around the city and complete that missing link, as I said. It's due for completion in 2022, and we think that it has gone very well. It has enhanced a bit of travel experience from what we've seen, the sections that have been completed. And it is an important project that will further see us, upgrading highways to that high grade, multi-lane with the expressway standards and access control that enables speedy transfer of traffic between points around the city. The highway is 17 kilometers long on the main carriageway, which is 4-lane, 2 in each direction. And for our viewers, we are also constructing about 21 kilometers of service roads, because once we provide access, we construct the road as an access-controlled highway. There are other areas that are perhaps now locked and they're not able to use the old Gitaru Road as it was. And now we're providing these service roads to connect to properties within that area. We're also providing 7 interchanges at Gitaru, Kihara, Lower Kabete, Ndenderu, Ruaka, Rumingi, and Wangige, and in future we will also construct an interchange at connections with other roads that are important, which we plan in the near future. We think that it will be a good location for businesses looking to move away from the conventional commercial centers like Westlands and Parklands. As you know, there's a very strong diplomatic area in that region. It will turn and spur socioeconomic development in that area of influence. Together with other roads like Mau Mau Road, which is a development program we've initiated in that region. We also have Ruiru Uplands Road, which will serve and improve economic opportunities in Kiambu, Murang'a, and Nyeri County, and improve the livelihoods of residents in those areas. And these projects have commenced. They're going on very well. And the feedback we're getting from the users is that this is going to really improve the opportunities in those regions. Thank you.
Well, even as we seek to improve the opportunities in these particular areas, it can't be all smiles from your side, Engineer. Talk to us about some of the challenges that you come across as Kenya as you go through this ambitious project of enabling the country economically and the region as well. What challenges lie ahead?
I think one thing that comes to mind, Jesse, thank you, is the issue of the cost of land. Roads are constructed on land. The cost of land in certain areas, particularly in urban areas, is almost rivaling the cost of construction. So if you take a road that is maybe 1 billion shilling, for example, and typically that's possible in an urban area, that would be not a very long road. you find that the cost of land could go as far as 1.5 or 2 billion for the area that you're working on. And we think this is really something that we need to address. We need to have a honest conversation as a country, what we choose in terms of how we provide infrastructure and even the roadway acquisition for highways. Unfortunately, Jesse, and to our viewers, a lot of these land issues around planned highways has been very speculative, and I think we need to sit together and be able to find a way around this. We agree that when a highway is constructed, it adds value to the land that is abutting the highway or it is close to or have an influence on the highway. But I think that we need to find a way that we can then make sure that we discourage those speculative tendencies that may push up the cost of land acquisition so much. The other challenge, Jesse, is the inadequate capacity of local contractors and service providers. You find that a lot of these projects are undertaken by contractors who are not necessarily Kenyan, and I think this is also worrying us as government. When we invest in infrastructure at such high cost, we'd want the money to remain here. And unfortunately, we want to challenge the local practitioners, local industry to be able to take up these opportunities that come and to be able to increase their capacities, develop their capacity so that they can take up some of these jobs. Some of these jobs are funded by development partners. They need not be done by Chinese. They need not be done by Europeans. They should actually be done by Kenyan contractors and consultants if they can bring their synergies together and improve their capacity in that direction. The other challenge, Jesse, that we see is relating to utilities. Utilities are very expensive. Why sometimes the cost of construction of roads is high, goes high, is because in every project we are like duplicating the utilities that were there. Why? Because of the uncoordinated effort by which they were installed. Sometimes we consult utility owners and they don't even know the location of their utilities so that we can work together and remove them. And when you take an excavator there to dig, you come out with a pipe, a sewer pipe, or you come out with a water pipe, disrupting lives. And we don't want to do this. So you find that invariably we are always constructing utilities which are not really roads, and yet we meet the cost, and then we have to add it to the cost of the development of the highway. We think that this issue needs to be addressed through a coordinated effort. We are trying to look at issues of common ducts, like in the expressway we've constructed a common duct at strategic locations where future utility owners can thread their services without necessarily opening up the highways. And those ducts will know the location so that we can coordinate their relocation or their readjustment in future projects. We think also that there are also some challenges, as always, resources are scarce. We still have challenges. We want to do more, but we're not able to do as much as we want to do because of the largely shortage of financial resources, because of competing priorities in Kenya. But we'll try to that's why we try to leverage on private finance, as we've discussed on the expressway. We're also trying to toll the highway between Nairobi and Nakuru, Nakuru-Mau Summit. There is an important project that is coming, and we are at advanced stage towards implementing that highway as a toll project, as we've discussed before. Thank you, viewers, and we're happy with some of the support we've got from our viewers and stakeholders in that regard in some of these projects, and we are very much grateful for the support, and we look forward to that support in the days to come. Thank you.
Well, quite so involvement of the local community is also important, even as we push for more development in terms of the road infrastructure. As we conclude, Engineer, talk to me about the opportunities that are there. Ever so often we hear of juggernauts of words like the Lapset highway component that is set to be established in the country. What opportunities lies with this? I know you mentioned that road is an enabler in so many ways, but with the ongoing road projects in the country, where should our viewers look to in terms of enabling themselves economically as well? Talk to us.
Thank you. LAPSET, Jesse, and to our viewers, LAPSET is an acronym for Lamu Port Southern Sudan Ethiopia Corridor. And it starts from this highway, which we have actually started developing. We're actually doing stage upgrading of the section of LAPSET Highway between Lamu and Garissa. We want to open this. The government has put up resources to be able to open it because Lamu Port is now ready for operations. You might have read in the media some of the initiatives that has been put in place. And actually, our president, His Excellency, the president, actually witnessed the start of operation of Lamu Port a few weeks ago. And our challenge then is to provide a reliable link, short link, that will take traffic, evacuate traffic from the port through to Garissa to join other national highways, so that we can now, benefit from the investments that have already been made on the port and even the opportunities that come with it. And the LAPSET Highway has two branches. It comes from Lamu to Garissa, then from Garissa to Isiolo. That will be a new highway that we will construct. The Isiolo to Moyale to southern Ethiopia has already been built several years ago. And then from Isiolo, we have designed already the highway section that goes to South Sudan through Suguta Valley and coming up to Lokicha, where we have the oil fields. That will join now the highway, which we have since nearly completed from Kitale to Lodwar through support by the World Bank. And so LAPSET then becomes then a second economic corridor through Kenya. If you look at the northern corridor, which I discussed a few moments ago, from Mombasa to Nairobi to Nakuru to Malaba, and you look at the map of Kenya and the highway network, you see that Kenya is essentially around straddling the northern corridor. If we develop the LAPSET corridor, we could have another Kenya in terms of new GDP that is generated along the LAPSET corridor. And what we foresee will happen is, if you can imagine another Mombasa, perhaps in Lamu, but perhaps even bigger, because Lamu Port is even bigger than Mombasa. It has capacities bigger, naturally, because it's a deep port. And then imagine the Lamu area, which we have now an opportunity to plan very well. It's now Kenyans now planning the development of Lamu Metropolis, which will have industrial port, industrial city, logistics hub, manufacturing, and all that goes in terms of a new economic corridor. If you can imagine that we can now plan this with hindsight, away from what we've seen in Mombasa, because we didn't plan Mombasa as a country. That was planned by our then colonial masters. And now we have an opportunity to do this. So opportunities that are there. It's an industrial city. We can now manufacture all the items that we import from Dubai, or the assemblies that we do from China, and we can now start local industries that manufacture and export and import through the port of Mombasa. Then along the corridor, we intend to establish a logistics chain. We intend to facilitate this through roadside stations. You will have more organized roadside stations where we have truck parkings with the benefits that come through investments. So we encourage, we are planning that the Kenyans can now invest in some of these stations. We've seen on the northern corridor some areas like Salga, where you have a mess of truck parking, haphazardly causing challenges. We have now the opportunity for private sector to now plan and invest in some of those organized truck stops, which you have seen in other countries that generate centers for growth and services, facilities that will then grow into towns in the future, anchored around those truck stops and roadside stations. Then we have tourism in some of those areas. The blueprint of LAPSET development has tourism areas, tourist potential areas around Lake Turkana, around Marsabit area, around Suguta Valley and the rest. Then we also have possibilities for industrial belts to be developed in Isiolo area. Then we also have other links that will shorten the path to South Ethiopia. We are developing the highway from Garissa going north to Nuno. That is an alternative link. And then further to the north, we are developing, northeastern, we are developing the highway under the Horn of Africa project to go to Wajir, and then we are now designing the route from Wajir to Buna through to Moyale. That will be a shortcut of the link to Moyale. So all these cities, all these towns will have opportunities that come with them: industrial development, logistics area, and exploitation of natural resources. Issues around rangelands will be developed so that we can even export beef products that is abundant from that area to markets like the Middle East and other parts of the world. So we see a lot of potential. We see that LAPSSET could potentially double Kenya's GDP in the long run once it is developed. And I think I encourage Kenyans to play a part in this exercise and to have a keen interest on the opportunities that will likely come from that area.
Well
noted.
Also
support the extractive industries in the north. The north, and like we have oil and the rest of those. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, well noted, Engineer Samuel Omer right there, the Director of the Highways Planning and Design at the Kenya National Highways Authority, just breaking down a raft of opportunities perhaps that lie in place due to the advanced road infrastructure we have as a country, just highlighting some of the ongoing projects. And at the end of the day, the role of the road transport infrastructure and what it does in enhancing regional integration and facilitating trade within our borders and outside as well. Engineer Omer right there, many thanks for your time. Looking forward to more fruitful discussions that will encompass this journey we're taking as a country in terms of development. Allow us to shift focus right now. Tricks. Day one of the BBI appeal was quite interesting. Of course, our camera lenses are set already on day two. Talk to us.
And of course, we'll just be keeping a watch on that and doing our part in informing you as those events unfold. But for now, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Express. My name is Trixie Ngado. Have a fantastic day ahead.
And my name is Jesse Rogers. Speaking of the BBI appeal, we just want to leave you with the ongoing case hearing that has already started as of 9 a.m. sharp. Let's cross over to the Court of Appeal just to bring you up to speed with the day two